Welcome back to Amateur Game Review. I got my Jeff Gordon shirt on, my Caterpillar hat on, and I'm ready to talk about some racing. Alright, you read the title, so you know the racing game we're talking about is Wreckfest. Now, Wreckfest is the spiritual successor to Flat Out, and if you've ever played that game before, you know exactly what to expect here. It aims to give you that half arcadey, half simulation racing style with just a ton of carnage, an absolute just a fun factor off the charts. But does it actually do that? Let's hop into it. Now you hear racing game and you immediately decide, hey, I either like racing games or I don't. I don't think that applies here. This game is part destruction derby, part racing, and 100% chaos. That appeals to pretty much everybody. But the first thing that we need to talk about with this game is graphics. The big thing with this game is the damage model, and where basically no matter what part of the car gets hit, it'll show damage, and it'll show crazy damage. It's almost like if you take Play-Doh, make a car out of it, and throw it against a wall, your car can look like that sometimes. And for the most part, they absolutely nail it. The game looks really, really nice and is still able to handle all the chaos and commotion going on. I mean, at times there's tires flying, sparks, dust, debris, your cars are flipping over, and there's really not much stutter or frame drops. I mean, you get it occasionally, but it's really not bad at all. And I think they did a fantastic job of just making the game be able to go through all that. Now, it's not as beautiful as, let's say, Project Cars or Drive Club or Forza, but it's just a step below that, and those games don't even come close to the kind of damage and chaos that's going on. I think the graphics go right along with gameplay with this game. Where they're focused so much on the damage and the carnage of everything, the feel of the game is very dependent on how it looks and what you're seeing. And like I said, they did a really good job with that. Now, the rest of it is normal racing stuff, and honestly, they do a really good job here also. There are multiple different ways to race. You have destruction derbies or oval racing, road courses, dirt tracks, asphalt, and all of it feels different and actually feels pretty good. The cars and everything feel super realistic, well, as realistic as you can get with a controller, no matter if you're on dirt or asphalt, and all of it feels different. So not only does it look awesome wrecking into people, but it actually feels really good racing them and banging off of each other and trying to get to the finish line first. Now, one thing of note here is I did play the PC version, so what I was talking about with the frame rate and stuff like that, not dropping low or not dropping too many frames, that may not apply to the PlayStation and the Xbox. It may be frame locked, or it may have a little bit more. I'm not quite sure. But I've heard pretty good things about the console version, so I feel confident in saying that it's pretty good over there also. But let's talk about what all you can do in this game. You have your basic modes. You can just hop right in and go racing. It does support both single player and multiplayer, which I will go ahead and say the multiplayer is hit or miss. It honestly depends on finding the right people to race against and online and stuff. The servers seem to be fine. It's just that there's not always a lot of people on, and sometimes there's, you always have your trolls and everything. But in all honesty, the single player is really where this game shines. Now, there is a career mode, but it's not anything to write home about. Everything in the career mode is basically money-based. You start off with only a lawnmower doing a destruction derby, you earn a little bit of cash, you unlock harder races, you use the money that you get from winning or losing enough times, and you buy faster cars and you get harder tracks and harder cars to race against. I will say that you don't earn money as fast as you really should to progress through the tiers of the career mode. Sometimes it feels like you got to go back and do some races to get enough money to buy a car that you need just for one event, because some of the events are like only front-wheel drive or only Japanese card or only American muscle cars and stuff like that. And the money's not just for buying cars. There is an upgrade system, so you're also going to be using your money on that. It's very basic. Every car has, engine, exhaust, brakes, and there's usually like 3 tiers to every category. So in your engines, you'll have like a street engine you can unlock, and then a sport engine, and then a race engine, and each of them gets progressively faster. You can also buy customization stuff like different wheels, and you can put bars on the side of your car or exhaust pipes sticking out the side or out of the hood or whatever you want to do. And that is it's all pretty simple and really easy to do. It's not the best system in the world, but it doesn't try to be. I think it manages what it sets out to do. Easily the best mode is just the custom race, which is basically a quick race. You can pick whatever cars you've unlocked, whatever tracks there are available, and there's a pretty good amount of tracks. and every track has multiple layouts to it. And then you can pick whatever cars you want to race against and make them as difficult as you want. And there's a lot of different settings for the AI, which makes it fun. And you can turn off stuff like traction control and be sliding around and doing whatever you want. In all honesty, you can spend hours just in custom races, just having a really good time. But let's talk about the sound really quick. Now, the sound effects are actually pretty good. I was a bit surprised. The cars sound really excellent, honestly. There's a couple different issues with like some of the crashes and stuff sounding a little off sometimes, but they really don't happen very often, and they don't take you out of the flow of the game at all. Now, unfortunately, the music I can't say the same for. It is absolutely all over the place. One minute you'll be listening to hard rock, and then classic rock, and then some kind of techno, and it's everywhere. There's pop. It can't decide what it wants to be, and honestly, the music is the worst part of the game. Now, I would say turn the music off and just do the sound effects, but there are some pretty good songs. I left the music on just because every once in a while a really good song would pop up, and those songs would get stuck in my head. But I do think it's holding it back. Some of the best parts of racing games are the soundtracks, and this one really just didn't nail that part of it. Now, the final thing I want to talk about, which to me is the best part of this game, is the mods. Now, it only applies to the PC version. I don't think you can get mods if you're playing Xbox or PlayStation, but there are so many mods to this game, and some of them are so excellent. You can get mods to basically do anything. There are mods to make the realism of some of the dust particles and stuff better, or there are mods to make some of the tires feel more realistic on the track. But where it really shines is some of the car and track packs. You can get whole car packs that are dedicated to specific things, like the Days of Thunder movie, or different era of NASCAR, which is honestly was super fun. I spent hours racing late 80s models NASCARs around Talladega and just trying to survive, because as soon as one car wrecked, everyone started wrecking, and sometimes I wouldn't even get a lap, and it was absolutely awesome. The biggest selling point on this game is the fun factor. This game's an absolute blast. You do not have to be a fan of racing or even like racing games. I actually handed the controller to my 3-year-old daughter, and she got on a lawnmower and did a destruction derby. She couldn't understand how to do the joystick and make it turn left or right, but she loved going back and forth and running into other stuff. She calls it the car game, and she actually won a destruction derby finally after a couple events. I still don't know how she did it. This game honestly just reminds me of a late 90s, early 2000s video game. It takes me to a time where video games were just fun, and that's what this is. This is just fun. It's a very good game, honestly. I highly recommend it. If you get the chance, you find a good deal on this game, I would absolutely pick it up. I would say if you have access, definitely get the PC version, mainly for the mods and stuff, which again were just absolutely awesome. But I guess that about does it for my review of Wreckfest. If you have played Wreckfest before, or if you just enjoyed the video, why don't you comment down below and let me know. And don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. But most of all, if you do happen to pick up Wreckfest, don't forget to raise hell and praise Dale.